Chuck Norris is known worldwide as a symbol of invincibility, celebrated for his martial arts prowess, Hollywood action films, and internet-fueled memes. Yet behind the roundhouse kicks and public persona lies a story few know, a life shaped by hardship, fear, and profound personal struggle. The boy who became a 6-time world karate champion and a television icon was once invisible, fragile, and scarred by trauma. The invincible figure audiences admire faced battles no black belt could fight, domestic violence, self-doubt, and repeated rejection. His story reminds us that true strength is forged through endurance, not effortless power. Understanding Chuck Norris requires seeing beyond the memes, beyond Hollywood, to the man who transformed pain into discipline, self-mastery, and a career that inspired millions while remaining deeply human beneath the myth. Childhood in Oklahoma born. Carlos Ray Norris on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma. Chuck's early life was marked by poverty and violence. His father, Ray Norris, was a World War II veteran and a mechanic, but also an alcoholic, whose anger shaped the household. Physical abuse and emotional neglect were daily realities. Chuck and his brothers learned to shrink into corners, becoming nearly invisible to survive. Their mother, Wilma, worked tirelessly to keep the family fed, yet had little power to stop the abuse. This environment left deep scars, shaping a childhood defined by fear and absence of affection. Chuck internalized the belief that he was not enough, a feeling that would follow him into adulthood. School offered no refuge. He was shy, stammered, and went largely unnoticed, reinforcing his sense of invisibility. These formative experiences forged resilience, even as they instilled lifelong challenges. Escaping through the Air Force. At 18, Chuck joined the United States Air Force, not out of patriotism, but as a desperate escape from his violent home. Stationed at Osan Air Base in South Korea, he encountered new challenges: isolation, insecurity, and the lingering trauma from childhood. Far from safe, the Air Force exposed him to a world where he felt invisible and uncertain of his own worth. Letters to his mother went unsent, reflecting inner turmoil and the search for identity. It was in this context that Chuck stumbled upon a Korean martial arts school. Watching from the window, he hesitated, unsure if he was capable. This moment would mark the beginning of transformation. What started as curiosity became discipline, offering a new language for self-expression and a path to reclaim strength that his childhood had denied him. Discovering martial arts. Under the guidance of a Korean master, Chuck Norris began learning Tang Soo Do, a martial art emphasizing discipline, focus, and self-mastery. His initial attempts were clumsy and painful, a far cry from the invincibility later associated with his name. Sweat, blood, and repeated failure were his daily companions. Yet for the first time, failure was not punitive, but instructive. The philosophy of martial arts transformed him, teaching that true strength comes from persistence, not aggression. Chuck returned, night after night, gradually building skill and confidence. By the end of his service in 1962, he had earned his first belt, emerging not yet fully confident, but with a clear path forward. Martial arts became both a physical and emotional refuge, offering a sense of agency and purpose he had never known. Early struggles in America. Returning to the U.S., Chuck faced a country largely unfamiliar with Tang Soo Do and martial arts in general. He married his high school sweetheart, Diane Holacek, and worked dead-end jobs, including a file clerk position at Northrop Aviation. Despite his black belt, he felt invisible again, struggling to make ends meet while honing his skills. Evening practice in their small apartment became his lifeline, a personal ritual to maintain discipline and overcome lingering self-doubt. In 1964, Chuck opened his first karate school in Torrance, California, a modest, nearly empty dojo. The early weeks were lonely, yet he persisted, teaching with the same intensity and philosophy instilled by his Korean master. Slowly, students arrived, validating his work and igniting the beginning of his professional journey in martial arts, laying the foundation for national recognition. Tournament success. Chuck Norris began competing in major tournaments in the late 1960s, quickly distinguishing himself through precision, discipline, and strategic mastery. His victories were not showy, but measured, earning respect among competitors and instructors alike. Between 1968 and 1974, he became a 6-time world middleweight karate champion, defeating legendary fighters such as Joe Louis and Skipper Mullins. His record of 183 wins and 10 losses cemented his reputation as a dominant force in martial arts. Despite this, he often felt incomplete, as championships and accolades did not address financial struggles or childhood trauma. Yet, these accomplishments reinforced persistence, shaping his identity as a disciplined, focused warrior. Even at the peak of his career, Chuck's greatest victories were internal, proving to himself that resilience, not circumstance, defined true strength. Hollywood breakthrough. By the early 1970s, Chuck sought to translate his martial arts success into a film career, but Hollywood was slow to recognize his talent. Rejection was constant, with casting directors dismissing him as too stiff or unremarkable. A transformative moment came with a meeting with Bruce Lee, who recognized Chuck's skill and presence. Their sparring sessions forged a deep friendship and mentorship, leading to Chuck's first major cinematic role in Way of the Dragon, 1972. The iconic fight scene in Rome's Colosseum showcased Chuck's authenticity and discipline, immediately elevating him in martial arts cinema. Bruce's sudden death in 1973 left Chuck grieving but determined. Through low-budget films and persistent effort, he gradually transitioned from martial artist to action star, learning to translate his physical mastery into compelling on-screen performances. Rise to stardom. By the 1980s, Chuck Norris had established himself as a recognizable action star. Films like The Octagon, Lone Wolf McQuade, and the Missing in Action series solidified his reputation for controlled, deadly precision and stoic heroism. Unlike contemporaries such as Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck carved his own niche, emphasizing moral conviction alongside martial arts prowess. His career trajectory combined the lessons learned from trauma, discipline, and perseverance, reflecting a man who had transformed early adversity into professional success. Audiences responded to the authenticity and clarity he brought to each role, and by the early 1990s, he had reached new heights with a project that would define him culturally and commercially. Cultural icon. Walker, Texas Ranger. In 1993, Walker, Texas Ranger premiered, making Chuck a household name worldwide. Portraying Cordell Walker, he became the embodiment of discipline, justice, and moral clarity. The show's appeal lay in its simplicity, good versus evil, action blended with ethical guidance, and an unwavering hero audiences could trust. Over 8 seasons and 203 episodes, the series drew millions of viewers in the U.S. and around the world. Walker became a symbol of reliability, a character who delivered both martial arts and moral lessons, syndication, and international broadcasts expanded Chuck's influence, cementing his status as an action icon. Behind the cameras, however, the physical and emotional demands were immense, highlighting the persistent tension between success, personal life, and enduring discipline. Internet legend and lasting legacy. The mid-2000s saw Chuck Norris ascend to global meme status, celebrated for superhuman strength and invincibility through absurd Chuck Norris facts. While humorous, the phenomenon introduced him to a new generation, blending admiration with playful exaggeration. Chuck embraced the attention with humility, understanding the cultural impact of his persona. The memes immortalized him as a symbol of resilience and skill, bridging martial arts, action cinema, and popular culture. Beyond humor, Chuck's story remains inspiring. A boy from an abusive home, once invisible and uncertain, became a disciplined warrior, champion, actor, and icon. His life demonstrates that persistence, self-mastery, and ethical conviction can transform trauma into achievement, leaving a legacy that extends far beyond movies or memes, inspiring millions worldwide.